We have 32 participants. Thanks so much for joining today, and we'll get started right now. All right. So today's webinar series is part 3. And I think one of the important aspects about having providing you kind of professional development, how do I learn about all these new things that are going on? It really takes more than a one and done deal. And something like this, affordable learning, how do you think about bringing affordability for course content to your campus? And we're going to give you a little introduction. Again, as I mentioned, we have our partner Xanadu, who brings capabilities that can really help you achieve those affordability goals through different strategies. So Rich Foley will present a little bit about Xanadu, and we'll have some comments too about their FlexEd program. And today the focus is on implementation strategies and how do you change people's habits of doing things like choosing content, creating custom packages that are more tied to the local and relevant needs for your student learning. And then we'll open up with questions at the end. Just so you know, we have one more in this series on affordable learning. And I'm really excited about this fourth one, really looking at and hearing stories from faculty who are really using these tools, using FlexEd, for example, from Xanadu, to really achieve those student savings. And remember, we're talking about learning solutions. That is, how do these things really enable your students to learn? So the 3 key takeaways here is when you're thinking about what do you need to do to implement an institutional strategy, building strong foundations with partners on your campus is really important. How can you bring the library, the bookstore, your academic senate, your internal partners, but also your external partners? There are a variety of commercial providers, including Xanadu, who can really enable you to be successful. The second key takeaway really is around how do you think about changing people's institutional and personal habits that often disable you from innovation. And there's ways to think about this, and those are some of the things we're going to do that. And in order to make change possible, you have to make change easy for people. And what are the strategies that we've done in the Cal State system and within Merlot that I've done with many other institutions that eases the burden of change? So as I mentioned, I've already a little bit introduced myself. I've been in higher education for a long time. I'm the executive director of Merlot and Skills Commons, which are open educational resources, free libraries of content that you have access to, your students have access to. Been doing Merlot for 25 years. And Skills Commons, if you're not familiar with that, is focused on workforce development, career and technical education. That was supported by the U.S. Department of Labor. I do a usability lab, and I'm a recovering administrator from the Cal State system after spending 20 years as assistant vice chancellor and senior director. And now I'm supporting and working with and a member of the partner and publishing team to really help build those bridges between commercial providers and academic institutions so you can bring innovations into the educational process. And with that, now I'm going to pass it over to Rich Foley, Senior Vice President for Sales and Marketing at Xanadu. So Rich, all yours.
Thanks, Jerry. So thanks very much. I always enjoy the opening to this webinar because you talk so much about partnership and the partnership that we can have with both the institution, whether it's the bookstore, the library, or the faculty members themselves. Xanadu is an organization built on partnership, and I think that's one of the things that I just always enjoy hearing you talk about, the need for partnership as we go forward in these challenging times. So very proud to be sponsoring this webinar and working with Merlot and the PIP team.
Great. Thank you, Rich. And one of the key things about partnership is that no one person can ever get the job done. So it always takes someone else to help you out. And getting help wherever you can to achieve the learning outcomes that you have in your courses, the graduation rates that you might need. And that's really what I'm going to start, just to remind people that whenever you're thinking about an institutional strategy, how do you tie it into key priorities for your institutions? What's its strategic purpose? Because if you want people to change, you have to say, for what purpose? So looking at, are you trying to improve your students' graduation rates? Are you trying to, how do you get more students to enroll? And all these factors, graduation rates and enrollment, affordability of education, the cost of education, not just tuition, but when you begin to look at the cost of course materials, can have a significant impact on student success. And when you also have your state legislators requiring textbook affordability programs, I think the latest count was around 35 states have some type of legislation pushing for affordability of course content. All these ways are become a priority for your institution, and then you can enable your students to be more successful by implementing this institutional strategy. And that's really what we've talked about the first two webinars, some conceptual strategies, and now we're going to kind of get down to some of the details. And to help organize the details, which can be overwhelming, always having a model can be really helpful. And this is the ABCs of affordable learning strategies to enable you to all that effort that you put in, the investment that you're making, not only in money, but in the effort of people and their time and energy to get that return. Just begin with thinking about, when you're thinking about an institutional strategy, think about who already is on your campus who can help you out. As I mentioned before, your library, your bookstore, your learning management system staff, your academic senate, it could be committees, etc. And you also have external partners who also can bring in support services to enable you to be successful. And then once you see who are all the people, how do you help them connect with one another? A lot of times, institutions within our own campus, departments don't talk to one another very effectively. So that's going to make it difficult to coordinate. So you want to build those bridges. And in that process, create capacities and make it easy for people. And this is where technology can really enable that collaboration to work. When you can drive collaboration by your users finding the time when they can do it, not forcing them to do it in a process that may not fit in the way they do their normal business and lives. So those three parts are kind of, how do I build something up so that someone can use it? And now developing the demand is like, well, who wants to make the change, right? So how do you communicate out to your campuses, to your faculty about the impact of cost on your students? When, for example, the Florida Virtual Universities a survey that they've done over the years have said, when 43% of your students are saying they take fewer units per semester because of the cost of textbooks, and you have a graduation initiative trying to get students to take more units per semester so they graduate in 4 years, then you can see how the cost of textbooks can help drive a demand for what can I do as a faculty member to help my students graduate in a more timely manner. So that training and professionals say, oh, I can do this too to make this outcome. And then at the top is around thinking about the leadership on your campus. How does your provost and your president communicate out with various memos, speeches, reinforcements, convocations, just making visible and raising the awareness of these issues, and also translate those into policies and support. How does funding go in to support these activities? So these ABCs and DEs for affordable learning are things to keep in mind when you're thinking about some particular strategies. And I've kind of covered these topics already, just want to highlight them. And thinking about, in particular, what can you do by bringing campus stakeholders together, creating an Affordable Learning Solutions Committee, whether it's run through a center that you're running or one through an academic senate or how in your library, having a regular meeting place to have shared governance for this strategy, because affordable learning affects many people. And then in this process of bringing people together, how do you help build those bridges through a change management process, which involves first raising everyone's awareness of the issues, inspiring a desire. Why would this be important for our institution to change? Tying it to specific purposes, supporting the learning through professional development and training, getting help desks, and always at the end, what helps build bridges is when you throw a party celebrating accomplishments at the end where you're validating people's efforts. So with those, and then you have these technologies that can be really helpful that you have internal. So you have your library, bookstore, etc. And you have external ones. Merlot and Skills Commons can provide free and open resources for you. And then you also have user-friendly technologies, Xanadu's FlexEd, to help customize these collection of materials to really help you create an effective curriculum for your courses. So again, those are the things to think about, critical aspects. And when you're now thinking about how do I organize these details, thinking about how does your president and your provost, your directors of your campus build in affordable learning into their messaging. And some of the issues that can help motivate that, there's the federal regulation for the Higher Education Opportunity Act about communicating out to your students about the affordability of course materials of the courses that they're about to take when they pre-register. Now that compliance issue in which your state and federal funding is dependent upon compliance with that federal policy, then you can begin to leverage, well, what else can we do to help save money? Because your presidents have to comply with that, and how you can build those messages. How you can bring professional development, training, and experience so your faculty can share one another about how they're doing. Peer-to-peer support. In the Cal State system, many of our campuses designate faculty affordable learning solutions ambassadors, where they tell their stories and run some workshops. Really important. Now, one of the things here, I put in here print copies. It's really important in any sort of shared governance process is to make sure all the students in your community are being served, as well as your faculty members. So many times you might need to have additional print options for students. So talk to your bookstore, talk to Xanadu, talk to various partners who can make that happen. Certainly looking at your library, enabling you to create these free resources. Your libraries have those content that your campus or your system has procured to as well. And I've put some websites here. And again, these resources, these PowerPoints will be available to you, where you can aggregate and make it easy for people to find and curate the content that they can use. Technology services, again, looking at how do you enable it easy to integrate when students go into their learning management system. How do you make the discovery of this content easily available there? And this last point, and I put a number of stars there, is if it takes a village to make this happen, the village needs a mayor. The village needs someone who is going to coordinate all these efforts, ensure that all the communications, the professional development, the partners in your libraries and your bookstores and your learning management system work together in a coordinated way. And I can't emphasize how important that person is. And many times you need to support them. In Merlot and Skills Commons, we provide programs to support you in trying to do this. And what I want to do too is pass it over to, as we're an external provider, but Xanadu does a wonderful job too. So I'm going to pass it back to Rich for him to make comments around how Xanadu also provides these kind of tactical support services so you can be successful in your implementation of affordable learning. So Rich? Oh, and you might be on mute.
Yes, that's exactly right, Jerry. Sorry about that, everyone. We are very committed to supporting the affordable learning solutions with our various services. And as you'll see on the right, we have any number of services, whether it's instructional design, campus awareness and communication, or even from a technologies perspective, we are there to support. Obviously, we work with bookstores and have a great deal of interaction with the library. So we really do work the entire institution. And we build that into our solution that we work through with you. So these are all services that are provided within the environment of affordable learning solutions. So it is one of these things that we are here to partner and help. We will do it at the institution level, obviously, but you have to start somewhere. So if it's an individual course that you're looking at piloting in such a manner, we're also ready to step in immediately to help you with the services you may need to get that off the ground. So I just wanted to point out that we are here, we're in this with you and committed to this sort of affordable learning.
Great. Thank you, Rich. And I'll say, folks, that the campus coordinator really is the key person. And many times I've been in higher education for 36 years, 37 years, I think. I'm trying to remember, I lose track. But when you're given a job, right? And I can't say how many I have, it's in the other duties as assigned, and someone says, "Oh, can you do this?" And you go, "Okay, I'll give it a try." Having someone who can help you think through what might be the appropriate strategy for your institution is really, really helpful. And that's where, again, partnership can help you be successful in this process. All right. And now what I'm going to show you here is, well, here's all this stuff, you're giving me guidance, strategies, but does this really work? And what I'm going to show you here in the Cal State system, and here's the website where every one of our campuses, we have 23 campuses, we're serving 500,000 students. So you can look through and see how each campus has created their own version of affordable learning. And there's a line I have, when people say, we want to do something with the Cal State system, I go, well, one of the things, it's 23 campuses. And if you've been to one Cal State campus, you've been to one Cal State campus, right? There really are unique qualities to each one of these. And so in this process, like Channel Islands had their whole program about open Channel Islands, and they actually, they have an ambassadors program, and they created Z majors, zero cost for being a major in their institution, right? At Fresno, they often highlighted a hero campaign where faculty were really making changes that really supported students being successful and looking at low cost, no cost material. And you create a little video stories of those. And here is Open Fullerton, that they have a variety of each one has their own way of doing it. And here's another example. And again, these are lots of things that if you say, could we do this? Check out what other people are doing. So we've been working with the historically Black colleges and universities, producing their affordable learning solutions. We created a portal for them, showcasing how their faculty are making changes and providing the tools that help you think through how your institution could implement affordable learning. And so again, one of these things, when you have now a vision, you have some strategies, and then when you have that campus coordinator who has to now manage that project, they have to say, with this vision, how do I decide what do I need to get done in what sequence? When do I need to get it done? Who's going to do it, right? And this is where partnerships become really important. When can the bookstore? When can Xanadu? When can the library? When can the LMS? When can my Center of Faculty Development? Having all the pieces put together and then getting the resources, tools, and capabilities. really to get the work done. And this is where, again, enabling your ecosystem, talking about your provost, your deans, whatever directors, some funding that can come through here. And here, this is, again, the value of having commercial providers. FlexEd and Xanadu, they can help you bring open education resources into creating custom course material. And that's why we partner with them, is we have a library of content, but then you have to support faculty curating it for their courses. And they also provide, as Rich said earlier, tools and instructional design support services to help that customization process, okay? And it's all part of the package when you create these and the students now have affordable packages, then, but you've been given those support to enable you to be successful. So FlexEd provides those services. And all these, again, if you build an affordable learning solutions, will they come? By making sure you think about the ABCs and developing the demand and enabling the ecosystems, the DEs, you can make it happen. So with that, we've come to the end of the third one, and just reminding you, one more to come in a month from now around affordable learning and really having faculty who are actually doing this and using FlexEd to tell their stories. Okay, so now we're at the questions time, and I'm going to stop sharing for a second so I could just see if there's any questions in the chat. So remember, folks, if you have questions, just click on, roll your cursor over the bottom of your screen. You'll see Q&A. And so what I'm going to start off with is some of the questions that were asked by people who registered for the webinar today. And the first one, and this is about developing demand issues. They asked, how do you announce these affordability opportunities to students, right? Because one of the things, when you can help get students really asking for these type of resources, it can help change the kind of the ecosystem, right? Supply and demand. Without the demand, people are going to say, why should I supply it? Okay, so this is what we've done in the Cal State system. One is your campuses often have an associated students where they have a student senate making presentations to your student senate that then they can communicate out directly to the students. You get the student voice. They often tie with student groups to begin to push out these affordability opportunities and students, and you get them to help be coordinating any outreach, getting them to message out to their students. And an important, another way that's really important in the change management process at the end of the year in the Cal State system, campuses celebrate accomplishments like how much money did we save our students, and how many faculty participated, and how many students were affected by this. And at the end, we often have the president of our student council give a little speech about how important this is for our students. And so the faculty who attend these events, the administrators hear the value from a student's perspective. Another way, working with our students also, is many of our student committees are often focused on the financial aid and how do you tie in with your financial aid program and communicating out affordability to your students. So again, thinking about who are the partners who deal with affordability issues, well, then you can communicate these opportunities and give them another message to push out through their channels. All right, so I hope that was helpful, really about engaging students, and they can really be helpful in this process. Another question that was asked here, it is kind of ties in with this opportunities for students, and that is, again, remember that federal law says by the Higher Education Opportunity Act that you have to communicate the cost of course materials to students when they register for their courses. And that's where you can bring another way to get that information easily discoverable, whether it's through your bookstore, whether it's through your registration process, whatever it might be. That's another critical way that not only do you get the message out to your students, but then you comply with state and federal regulations. Okay. The next question I'm going to highlight on, and I'll try to be quick on this one, is someone asked, what's the primary source of resistance for this initiative in the Cal State system? And how do you overcome similar obstacles? And I'll say one of the obstacles really is that often faculty have been unaware, and I'll just say not faculty, but staff, and often many students, administrators often don't understand the challenging affordability issues that our students are facing. And one of the things that we've done is communicating out to our faculty about, do they understand what percentage of their students that they have in their classes have Pell Grants or are Pell eligible? And again, for those who may not be familiar, Pell is a federal program that determines whether a family can afford to send a student to college. And when 50% of the students, for example, in the Cal State system are Pell eligible, that means 250,000 students, half of our students in our institution, don't have, their families can't afford to send their students to college. And so that's why financial aid becomes important. And is that financial aid enough to help our students go to college, right? And when you find other information where 41%, this is the last data that I've seen, 41% of our students that we've surveyed are food insecure. They're going hungry on a daily basis. When 11% of our students are homeless part of the year. When you begin to communicate out to the faculty about how affordability is such an important aspect of student lives and where they can make a difference. I can't tell you how, I'll just say honored and inspired I've been by faculty who really bring that passion for student success to say, okay, now what can I do? That is, by having that data, you can inspire the faculty's desire to change. And then once they say, oh, what can I do? Then you have to deliver in your, whether it's professional development, workshops, webinars, easy, convenient tools. People who know me, my line is give a gift and not a burden. And so how can you give them something that can empower them to be successful? So I realize I just went 1 minute over. I get excited about this, and I hope this webinar has been useful and effective for people. And of course, I should share the screen again. Sorry about that, folks. I need to give you the contact information. If you want to have more information about affordable learning and about how Xanadu can help you achieve your affordable learning solutions goals. Let me quickly get it big. Sorry about that, folks. You can contact Xanadu, and if you want to talk with Rillo and Pip about this stuff too, we're partnering with Xanadu, and we're happy to work arm in arm with the Xanadu folks. So thank you again.